Did you know that some of history's most powerful queens started out as royal mistresses? It's true. These women weren't content with being kept in the background. They had their sights set on the crown. But how did they pull off such an extraordinary feat? In the next few minutes, we'll reveal the cunning strategies, scandalous affairs, and political machinations that propelled 10 remarkable women from royal bedrooms to royal thrones. So, without further ado, let's begin. At number 10, we've got Jane Seymour. She was a mistress of former England King Henry VIII and later became his queen. Jane's introduction to the court of King Henry VIII came through her role as a mistress. She first served Catherine of Aragon, Henry's first wife, and later Anne Boleyn, his second wife. This position placed her in close proximity to the king and the queen, offering her a unique vantage point to observe the intricacies of court life and the dynamics of royal favor. By 1535, Jane had caught King Henry VIII's attention, possibly during a visit to her family home at Wolf Hall. Despite being described as no great beauty, Jane's demeanor and virtue attracted Henry. Jane's quiet grace and modesty stood in stark contrast to the more flamboyant and controversial figures at court, particularly Anne Boleyn, making her a royal mistress. And the day after Anne Boleyn's execution, on May 20th, 1536, Jane was betrothed to Henry VIII and became a queen consort. At number 9, we've got Karin daughter. She was a mistress of King Eric XIV of Sweden and later became his queen. Although grew up in abject poverty, Karin's life took a dramatic turn when she caught the eye of King Eric XIV of Sweden. In 1565, while working as a chambermaid for Eric's half-sister, Princess Elizabeth, Karin's beauty and demeanor attracted the king's attention. This encounter marked the beginning of a relationship that would significantly alter both their lives and Swedish history. Karin quickly became Eric's favorite mistress, distinguishing herself from his previous liaisons. Unlike other royal mistresses of the time, Karin's position was quite official and public. She was given expensive clothes, her own apartment, and servants, indicating her unique status at court. Eric's decision to marry Karin was unprecedented and controversial. Eric took the bold step of holding a public wedding and coronation for Karin in 1568, officially making her Queen of Sweden. Next, we've got Inês de Castro. She was a mistress of King Pedro I of Portugal and was posthumously declared Queen of Portugal. In 1339, Inês arrived in Portugal as a mistress to Infanta Constanza of Castile, who was the bride of Prince Pedro, the heir to the Portuguese throne. Despite Pedro's marriage to Constanza, he fell deeply in love with Inês, captivated by her beauty and charm. Their romance began in secret, with clandestine meetings in the gardens of Quinta das Lagrimas in Coimbra. The relationship between Pedro and Inês was fraught with political implications. King Afonso IV, Pedro's father, strongly opposed their union due to concerns about potential Spanish interference in Portuguese affairs. Hence, Inês was assassinated, which had profound political repercussions. It led to a civil war within Portugal, as Pedro, consumed by grief and rage, rebelled against his father. After becoming king, Pedro Vaz took extraordinary steps to honor Inês's memory and legitimize their relationship, and made her the legitimate queen. At number 7, we've got Catherine Howard, another mistress of Henry VIII who later became his queen. Catherine's entry into the Tudor court came through her position as a mistress to Anne of Cleves, Henry VIII's fourth wife. This role placed her in close proximity to the king and the royal family, providing her with an opportunity to gain favor and attention. Catherine's youth, beauty, and charm quickly caught the eye of King Henry VIII, who was dissatisfied with his marriage to Anne of Cleves. Henry VIII's attraction to Catherine was immediate and intense. He referred to her as his rose without a thorn, and lavished her with gifts and attention. Catherine's youth and vivacity seemed to rejuvenate the aging king, who was eager to move on from his failed marriage to Anne of Cleves. Henry VIII married Catherine Howard on July 28, 1540, just 19 days after his marriage to Anne of Cleves was annulled, and Catherine was publicly acknowledged as queen on August 8, 1540. Next, we've got Christina Abraham's daughter. She was a mistress of King Charles VIII of Sweden and later became his queen. Christina's life took a significant turn when she became involved with King Charles VIII of Sweden, also known as Karl Knutsson Bonde, during his exile in Finland from 1457 to 1464. Charles VIII had a complex reign, serving as King of Sweden during 3 separate periods. This tumultuous political climate formed the backdrop for Christina's rise to prominence. As Charles's mistress, Christina bore him two children, a daughter, Anna Karlsdotter Bonda, and a son, Karl Karlsson Bonda. Their relationship, while initially that of a king and his mistress, evolved over time, especially as Charles sought to secure his lineage and legacy. The pivotal moment in Christina's journey from mistress to queen came in the spring of 1470, shortly before King Charles VIII's death. Their marriage was likely an attempt to legitimize their son, Karl Karlsson Bonde, and potentially position him as a successor to the throne. At number 5, we've got Wu Zetian. Wu began her court life as a mistress of Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty. After his death in 649, she was sent to a convent but later caught the attention of his son and successor, Emperor Gaozong. In 655, Wu became Gaozong's empress consort after eliminating rivals, including the previous empress. Historical accounts suggest that she may have orchestrated the downfall of her predecessors through ruthless tactics, including accusations that led to their executions. Following Gaozong's stroke in 660, Wu effectively took control of the government. She managed state affairs while her husband was incapacitated, gaining significant influence over court politics and decision-making. After Gaozong's death in 683, Wu became Empress Dowager. Instead of retiring as was customary for widows, she continued to wield power through her sons, manipulating their reigns to maintain her influence. In 690, after eliminating most political rivals and consolidating her power over the court, Wu forced her youngest son, Emperor Ruizong, to abdicate and proclaimed herself as queen. Next, we've got Catherine of Russia. She was a mistress of Peter the Great, and later became Empress of Russia after Peter's death. She was orphaned at a young age due to a plague epidemic that claimed her parents' lives. She worked as a servant in Gluck's household and received no formal education, remaining illiterate throughout her life. In 1702, Russian forces captured Marienburg, and she was taken as a prisoner. She became part of the household of Alexander Menshikov, a close friend and advisor to Tsar Peter the Great. Menshikov introduced her to Peter, recognizing an opportunity to gain favor with the Tsar. By 1703, she had become Peter's mistress and moved into his household. She was known for her ability to calm Peter during his frequent rages, making her invaluable to the court. In 1724, Peter crowned Catherine as Empress Consort, further elevating her status. And immediately following Peter's death, the Holy Synod, the Senate, and high officials proclaimed Catherine as Empress of Russia. At number 3, we've got Hürrem Sultan. She was initially a mistress and later became the legal wife of Ottoman Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, effectively becoming the queen of the Ottoman Empire. Her life took a dramatic turn when she was captured by Crimean Tatars during a raid and sold into slavery. Eventually, Hürrem was transported to Constantinople, the capital of the Ottoman Empire, where she entered the imperial harem. Upon her arrival, she was given the name Hürrem, which means joyful in Persian, reflecting her cheerful disposition. This name change marked the beginning of her new life in the Ottoman court. Hürrem quickly distinguished herself in the harem, capturing the attention of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent. Her intelligence, charm, and joyful nature captivated the Sultan, leading to a deep personal bond between them. The turning point in Hürrem's life came when Suleiman made the unprecedented decision to marry her, making her his legal wife. And then she was elevated as a queen. Next, we've got Catherine Henriette de Balzac d'Entragues. She was a mistress to King Henry IV of France and had a significant influence at court and was recognized as a queen consort after they married. Catherine became one of Henry IV's most favored mistresses after the death of his previous mistress, Gabrielle d'Estrées. She was known for her beauty, charm, and intelligence, which allowed her to navigate the complex social and political circles of the French court. Catherine was deeply involved in political plots and intrigues. In 1604, she was part of a Spanish-backed plot to have her son recognized by the king as the heir to the throne. This involvement in political machinations demonstrates her ambition and desire for power, which lead to official recognition as queen consort. She maintained a position of power and influence at the French court, even after the death of King Henry IV in 1610. And at number 1, we've got Anne Boleyn. She was the mistress of King Henry VIII of England. She became queen consort after marrying Henry in 1533, despite his marriage to Catherine of Aragon at the time. She came from a well-connected family. Her father, Thomas Boleyn, was a prominent diplomat and member of the Privy Council, while her mother, Elizabeth Boleyn, had royal connections through the Howard family. Anne caught Henry VIII's eye around 1525 to 1526, several years after her return to the English court. Unlike her sister Mary, who had been Henry's mistress previously, Anne resisted the king's initial advances. Her refusal to become his mistress only intensified Henry's desire for her. Henry and Anne's relationship continued to develop. They were secretly married on January 25, 1533, in a ceremony conducted at the Holbein Gate of Whitehall Palace. At this time, Anne was already pregnant with the future Queen Elizabeth I. Anne's coronation as queen consort took place on June 1, 1533 at Westminster Abbey. And with this, we wrap up this video. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you find our channel interesting, then subscribe to it. Thank you. See you in the next video.